You said lawn work?
Yeah, lawn work. I was thinking of they were lawn mower. They're doing yard work out there.
I knew
All
what you
right,
meant.
welcome back. Been a long time since we had a podcast. We have basically taken the entire summer off and late spring. We have James back on the podcast. James, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. It's Packers hate week.
It is Packers hate week for you. It's Eagles hate
Yeah.
week for me. But that's part of the reason why I wanted you to come on today, so that because our teams are playing on Friday, which is weird
Oh, yeah.
for the NFL.
And that Friday, that is a super weird game, and it's in Brazil. I hate it.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Brazil, and it sounds like I don't know, some weird shit's going on in Brazil. I know that they banned Twitter and some other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Brown said he's not leaving his hotel room. So
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're encouraging most of the team not to leave their hotel room if they can. And they just got there today, so it's not like they have too much time to screw around, which is good.
the Eagles got there. I wonder if the Packers they might.
Yeah, they got there today. Practice tomorrow. Game Friday. I
I
don't
was
know if you
hoping
guys
they'd
did the
show up.
same. Maybe you got
Well, I
there a
was
day
hoping they'd
early.
show up earlier because I've heard Green Bay has a tougher trek to the game because they got to go to like Milwaukee to Miami to Brazil. Whereas Philly, I'm sure, can probably get a direct flight from Philly to.
Wow. Okay. Damn. They do. Yeah. I guess. I mean, that's probably like a 13-hour flight for them. It's pretty far.
Yeah, and a layover or two. So, you want to do some predictions?
That's exactly what I want to do.
All right, where do you want to start?
You lead. I really liked your predictions, by the way, when I read them today. But
Thank you.
you could tell you could pick the division or the conference, and we can go from there. I could pick division winners, then we can kind of do a playoff seeding. You want to do that?
Yeah, sure. Hang on, I was adjusting the camera. I don't like that it's looking
Okay.
up at me. So I want to know what your take is of the season first, because I think that this is kind of a transitional year. And what I mean by that is shit. What I mean by that is like we have the teams that have been in the Super Bowl bubble for a few years. The Chiefs, who aren't going anywhere, they're the defending champ, back-to-back defending champs. We've had the Bills in there, we've had the Bengals in there, we've had the Niners in there. The Lions have entered the conversation last year, and some of these teams, it feels like though, are either out of that bubble or on their way out. You know, like I think the Bengals could be on their way out this year. I think the Niners could be on their way out. I think the Lions could be like all three of those teams that I said. I would put the Ravens in that conversation too. Not necessarily this is it for them, but they are in the circle of teams. The Bills I would take out of that conversation. I think they have regressed this offseason. But so that's what I mean by a transitional year. You have teams, I think, leaving that bubble, and then you have teams entering that bubble. I don't want to say like the Eagles because the Eagles were in that bubble and they just had a bad year. I still think they're in that bubble. But I think you'll have teams like the Texans and the Packers enter that bubble, and maybe another team or two. What do you think?
I mean, I totally agree, and I think that's just kind of the cycle of the
It's
NFL.
about a 3-year cycle. 3 years ago, 2021, it was like the Packers, it was the Bucks, it was. But we knew like Rodgers, something was weird going on with Green Bay. We knew Brady wasn't going to play
Tampa.
forever.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and there were a few other examples I can think of, but if I had more time. But that year, though, it was a transitional year. It was two teams that no one really expected to be in the Super Bowl, in the Rams and the Bengals. And I think something similar could happen this year.
And yeah, I mean, I know you probably don't want to hear it, but I think you could throw the Bears into that conversation. I think if Kyler Murray can just stay healthy for 17 games, I mean, I don't see why they can't win, 8-9 games and be right in the mix as well. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It all depends on health. I think the Packers, obviously, I mean, they never really left. If you think about it, I think it was more just, can Jordan Love be good? Now that we know that he is good, we can just keep him there in Sharpie instead of pencil, I guess. But
right.
Yeah, and I do. I still think the Eagles are in there as well. I think, Howie's I think Howie just does a decent job of just keeping, talent stocked. Whether they put it all together or not remains to be seen. But he always brings in some good players at least.
That's better. Well, great. A little better. The Eagles are just well rounded. But that's my impression of the season. I think we have teams that are going to come out of nowhere. And some of them I feel good about, like the Packers and Texans. Those are easy to predict.
Falcons.
I forgot about them. I would put the Falcons in that mix. You never know. Cowboys are another team I would say is leaving that bubble, I would say.
Hope so.
But there's probably going to be another team or two that I think comes out of nowhere, and we're not expecting to be really good and is really good. So I'm going to start things off with my MVP pick. I swear to God, a month ago, I was like, I had a guy penciled in, and it was Jordan Love. And I was like, that's a little kind of chalk, but also a little off the radar. If you go by MVP odds on FanDuel, he's like 5th or 6th. So it wasn't a ridiculous pick. And then that motherfucker, Colin Cowherd, picked him to win MVP. And I said, that does it. I can't pick him now. Because I was like, I'm going to be the first one to, go out there and say it. And he did it. And I was like, well, I'll do something else then. And I went with CJ Stroud. Same kind of deal. Young guy. I think he's just getting started. And the same boat as Jordan Love, just came on last year. Kind of off the radar MVP pick. I think he's maybe 4th or 5th in terms of the odds. So didn't want to go chalk. I didn't want to go with Mahomes. That's boring. No one wants to hear that.
Of course. And I mean, they kept Bobby Slowick. He's still calling their plays.
And that was another reasoning is go look at quarterbacks in year 2 in that Shanahan or McVay system.
Yeah.
It happened with Aaron Rodgers. It happened with Brock Purdy. It could happen this year with Jordan Love. But those guys typically do a whole lot better in year 2 than they do in year 1.
100%. I mean, I like the pick as well. I think, if I was betting on it, that is probably your best bet just based on odds and how good I think the Texans are going to be. I think they have a really good shot at the 1 seed. I think if they get the 1 or 2 seed, he will be, right there at the top. I'm going to go Joe Burrow again. I think it's just totally a narrative award. And I think if they can come in and, win 12 games, 11, 12 games and win that division, I think he's going to be in good running. I would love to pick Josh Allen, but I just don't think he's going to have the outside weapons to make that happen this year. But who knows? I mean, if he just still, sorry, I was going to say if he still puts up, 4,300 yards and 35 touchdowns with all those guys, then, he is going to be right in it. So.
I'm waiting for Josh Allen to have an MVP season. I'll buy a T-shirt if they make one. I'll do whatever.
They could have easily gave it to him last year. I just think we both know it's a narrative award, and I think there was a narrative early that he was playing like complete shit, but by the end of the year, he had like almost 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, I think.
And they won the division. They still won the division.
Did he throw 18 picks last year? I think that's what
he threw a lot of picks. He did. I think he threw 17. I've said it a million times. I don't care that much about picks. Obviously, I'd like you to be closer to 10 than 20.
That's That's a stat I've cooled off on. I used to say he throws a lot of picks. Now I'm like, what's your completion percent? Like, if your completion percentage is low and you're throwing a lot of picks, that's one thing. But if you're accurate, you're doing everything right. If you're making big plays, big time throws, I don't really care about the picks.
And not every pick is created equal either, right? I mean, if you throw a early second quarter pick and you're up 7, it's not as big of a deal if you throw a fourth quarter interception. I'm sure he threw his fair share of those. I remember a couple of them off the top of my head, but I'm sure some of those were completely.
3 of them at least were in the first game, so he had 15.
Yeah, exactly. It was the Jets, right? Am I making that up? Yeah, no, yeah, it was I do remember that game, and it was just, I think he had a really good season. I think he's the second best football player in the world. We're the Josh Allen official podcast here. So,
so speaking of Josh Allen, I will say though, before we move to Josh Allen, I had Burrow winning comeback player of the year, so kind of on the money there.
Fair.
So let's go to the AFC East, where it's kind of open because I think the Bills regressed. Maybe a 3-team race. I think that's because we don't see we do see eye to eye. We don't see eye to eye with the rest of the world when it comes to the Jets.
Yes.
So I'll say a 3-team race. I think it's more like a 2-team race.
But I still do think it is a 3-team race because I don't think the Jets are necessarily so bad that they're like a 6-win team. I just think that
Yeah,
they're 8
that's
or
fair.
9-win team, and I think that that's definitely in the mix. That's all I think the Dolphins are going to win as well, and I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if the Bills only won 9 or 10 games. So we'll see. I'd probably pick them more at like an 11, but
I have the Bills winning this division. I just
same.
they regressed this offseason, but this game is driven by great head coaches and great quarterbacks, and they have the best head coach combination in this division by a mile. And I do have them pulling back. I think last year they won 11 games, but a lot of games didn't go their way. And so I do have them pulling back, but only to 10 games. I think Josh Allen and Sean McDermott can get this team to 10.
Me
And
too.
maybe they're better than I thought. Maybe Keon Coleman's better than I think he'll be as a rookie. So, and they can easily win more. So you have the Bills as well, winning this division. I assume we're going to be the exact same 1 through 4: Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yes.
As for the Dolphins, they're another team that regressed this offseason. They lost Christian Wilkins, Xavier Howard, I think, retired. I don't trust this team. I still think they have an average offensive line. Tua, don't trust him to stay healthy for a full year. They can't win in cold weather. I mean, I can keep going.
I really do just think they're truly a finesse team down to the core in the sense that, yeah, I mean, if everything's clicking, we saw they scored 70 last year. I think that they're going to win a lot of games just because they do have Tyreek and everything like that. But they're also going to lose a lot of games where they get punched in the mouth. I mean, I just remember I thought the Eagles were going to lose the game, but I remember that game last year, even when the Eagles were playing terrible. That was one of their best games all year. They kind of punched them in the mouth. They're just they just kind of are what they are. They kind of doubled down on what they already were, and but they, like you said, they lost really important players. I mean, Wilkins was, probably the best player on their defense.
I didn't know
If I'm
he
not
hasn't made a
mistaken.
Pro Bowl. That was surprising to me when I looked at
That
that.
is surprising, actually. D tackle talent is stacked, but that is
True.
very, very surprising, actually.
And then let's touch up on the Jets a little bit. We got to touch up on them.
Yeah.
I just don't buy it. There's no way else to say it. I bought it last year, and even then I was a little hesitant to buy it, and I did it anyway. This year, I'm not buying it. Like, I don't think this team's going to be that good.
It's just straight up threading a needle. They need it's not like, oh, we need this to break our way and we'll win 10 games. It's like they need like 7 different things to all kind of align, like a master lock or something for them to have a good season. That never happens. That's just not how football works. So
I mean, there are only 1 or 2 teams that have had more distractions this offseason than the Jets.
Yep. I don't like Saleh. I don't
I
think
don't
he's
love
great.
the Athletic article saying Robert Saleh's in over his head and really putting Nathaniel Hackett in a bad light. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. I think that offensive line will be better. I don't think it'll be.
It's old
great,
though.
Yeah.
It's old and injured. Old might be bad because it's not like Tyron Smith's like 35 or anything, but they're old. Like they have a lot of football
When was
tread.
the last time he was healthy? Tyron Smith.
Exactly. I mean, it's literally been like 5 years, and he's only like 32 years old, maybe. But like you said, I just don't buy it. I love Aaron Rodgers as a football player, but a lot of his game is not predicated on scrambling per se, but like he's always been a player that has a little wiggle to get open.
He
and,
loves
and
to get
do the
outside
clear.
of the pocket. And
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't think he has that.
like think about all of like your favorite Aaron Rodgers plays. How many of them are him just sitting in the pocket and throwing a dime? It's him, doing a little Tony Romo
his
dance.
last year in Green Bay. He was not as crisp.
Yeah.
He looked a step slower.
Yep.
And he
now
sucked, honestly. Let's be honest. He sucked that last year in Green Bay. That's why they moved on.
Yeah. And he's 40 and coming off an Achilles. And I don't know, man. And listen, if he was in like a Shanahan type offense where I knew listen, dude, we just want you to throw pinpoint accurate balls. We're going to give you a bunch of 7-yard routes and let athletes make plays. I'd be like, okay, like he could do that. He could just sit there and pluck it. But like, dude, Nate Hackett sucks. Garrett Wilson's I don't want to say he's a deep ball player, but like he's a player that you want explosive plays with and stuff. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't see it. I do like Brees Hall in fantasy though because of that. I think he's going to get a lot of touches just because the O line's not going to be that good in my opinion once there's an injury or two. And Aaron Rodgers is old. He's just not going to be able to escape as many sacks as he used to.
So that's our AFC East. As for the Patriots, they just feel like a mess to me. Bad O-line, bad quarterback situation.
I just kind of believe in like eventually, like they have to pay for the 20 years. Like they
Yeah.
just have to. Like you really do have to be a laughing stock for like 4 or 5 years. Sorry guys, like, and that's what they're going to be. So it is what it is.
Law of average says this is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, you can't be the best team in football for my entire life, basically, and then just like be, oh yeah, we're gonna just go right back to winning 10 games every year. Like, no, you guys got to be like a, dude. I'm not kidding. They might not win a game. Like, they really might not because, dude, they traded their best defensive player who was already old. Didn't their first round pick last year? I'm pretty sure tore his ACL. They have nobody on offense, man. I mean, absolutely nobody. They drafted a rookie quarterback who I think is going to be pretty good, but they're not even going to play him because their team's so bad. They're just cooked. And yeah, law of averages. You guys are screwed. It's like 2030. Sorry.
So moving on to the AFC North.
Great division to call.
I think all 4 teams can win this division.
Yes, no, I disagree. I think that's a 3-team race as well. I think this is going to be the year the Steelers finally win under, go under 500. I still see them like 8 and 9. I don't think they're bad. Right. Maybe 7 and 10. But
I've done that before with Tomlin. Once or twice, he's proven me wrong. I'm to the point I need to see it. So I'll go ahead and reveal. I had the Steelers going 9 and 8. I don't see them doing any better than that.
Yeah, they're starting Russell Wilson, man, and he really is like very bad now. It's kind of crazy, but the way I would do that division, I do think the Bengals are kind of going to have something to prove this year. They were, obviously super pissed when Joe Burrow got hurt last year. He hurt it against the Ravens, so I'm sure that's going to be, some really good games this year. Like I said, I think Burrow's going to win the MVP, so I'm going to put them there. The Ravens still going to be really good. They just lost a lot, man. Like, you lose your, one of the better defensive coordinators in the entire NFL. It's just it's they lost a couple defenders. They're going to take a little bit of a step back from the juggernaut that they were last year, but they'll be really good.
I'll say this: I think I agree with John Middlecoff. I think this whole division takes a step back.
No, 100%. And at the same time, they're all going to like kind of beat each other up. I wouldn't be surprised if they all split. Like, they literally just all went 3 and 3. Like, no joke. So, yeah, and then the Browns, I think, they're just not as good as the other 2 teams, but they're really good. I mean, I honestly, I was considering putting them in the playoffs. I think I might end up having them as a playoff team. So this could be a 3-division or a 3-team division. 3-team playoff division, and yeah, I mean the Pittsburgh just has the worst team. And they have the worst quarterback, so I really do got to put them down there. And do you think that do you not have them 4th?
No, I have them 3rd. I have the Browns 4th.
Wow. Okay.
But at 9 and 8 and 8 and 9, I mean, you can flip flop them.
Flip flop that very easy.
So I have the Ravens winning this division.
Okay.
It's more of an indictment against the Bengals than it is the Ravens. I still think the Bengals are going to be good, but they've lost some pieces defensively. DJ Reader in particular, I think that's going to be a big loss. And that was already a defense that struggled last year. They gave up a lot of big plays, even though it didn't seem like it. Go look at like the average yards per play that they gave up. They gave up some explosive plays. I worry about Joe Burrow's wrist. I've
me too.
I'll talk about that a couple times.
Me too.
And I still think this O-line is iffy. Should be okay, but I'm still not sold on it.
Yeah.
So I think the Bengals are going to be good. I will say this. I think they really benefit from their schedule, even though they get 9 road games. I was going through, I'm like, gosh, I could see 12 wins. It was just, I think they pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think they're closer to the end of this Super Bowl window than they are at the beginning, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And then
they got to get some new talent in there.
Yeah, they do. And then as for the Ravens, I just think that they're maybe a more well-rounded roster, definitely better defensively.
Yeah.
They lost Mike Macdonald, but I mean, how many defensive coordinators have they had? They always seem to have a good defense.
I think Mike Macdonald might be a little different though in that regard.
Possibly.
And maybe not, like you said. I mean, they've always been structurally really good, on that side of the ball, but.
And then I trust Harbaugh, and I trust Zach Taylor too. Just I don't know. I'm a little bit higher on the Ravens. I could be totally wrong. I wanted to pick the Bengals to win this. Just a couple of those things that I mentioned worries me.
I hope you're right.
then-
I live in Baltimore, so it's way funner when they win.
It's way funner. And then Steelers in third. Brown. We already talked about the Steelers a little bit. But as for the Browns, this team won. I have it in my notes here on my computer. Won 6 games last year by a combined 15 points. That's not going to carry over this
Sounds
year.
like the Birds.
They were 6-2 in one-score games. So all 6 of those were by a combined 15 points.
That's crazy.
That's just something that's not going to carry over. I know I sound like Adam Lefkoe, but it's not going to happen.
No, I mean that's.
They're going to pull back to the mean, and if they're 4-4, that's 2 wins away from 11. They have won 11 games last year. Subtract 2 wins, that's a 9-win team, and that's kind of what this team is. And I don't trust Deshaun Watson.
No, me neither. And I just Middlecoff was talking about it the other day. He's like, dude, it was 2019 the last time we saw Deshaun.
Yes.
Like, that was a long time ago now, dude.
Well, 2020 he played, and he was somewhat good.
But I mean, like, that 2019 season was the last time we saw him get a late.
Yes.
That's why I got the money. Like, that season is why he ended up getting paid ultimately. And
I can't believe it's been 4 years.
Dude,
4 years.
Half a decade ago. That's insane.
I can't with the Browns.
I could see them coming in. I mean, it's the Browns, dude. I could easily see that, but I don't know. Dude, Russell Wilson is just going to be really bad. I don't see him being any better on this team.
Trust Mike Tomlin. They're going to be in games. They'll be good defensively.
Yeah.
This team should be around 500. I have them 9-8 just because of Mike Tomlin's track record.
I agree.
So AFC South.
Juicy one, in my opinion. Yeah.
Just a 1-team race, you think? Okay.
No, a 3-team race. No, I said a 3-team race. I just said this is like a sneaky good division, in my opinion.
I agree. I think this division is going to be better than people think.
And I think the AFC is weaker this year than it's been the last few years, by the way. When I was actually like looking and I was like, damn, like a lot of these teams aren't, I had kind of a hard time filling out my 5 through 7 in my my wild cards.
It's a log jam after like the Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens, Bills.
Yes.
And then it's a log jam of teams that like I think could be good. Maybe not like maybe it just there's about 6 or 7 teams in there maybe that could make the playoffs. I could also see having disastrous seasons. Yeah. So we both agree that it's a 3-team race. We're both, I would imagine, going to pick the Texans to win this division.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel really good about this. The Texans, like the Packers, who we're going to get to here in a minute, came on last year, really young team. I'm not quite as high on this team as other people, or at least I don't understand why they are being in this Super Bowl why are they in the Super Bowl conversation and Green Bay is not? That's just my beef. But I do really like the Texans. I don't know. I want to see how this goes because I think that they could. They won't be coming out of nowhere, but I could see them we look up beginning of October. Hey, who could take on the Chiefs tomorrow and win the AFC? The Texans.
Yes, I completely agree. I mean, I think the Texans kind of run away with this division. I think, the Colts and the Jags have potential to be good teams. I think the Texans have potential to be a great team.
Mm-hmm.
Potential number 1 seed. I really believe that. Now they did bring in a lot of new pieces that are really good on paper. But again, football isn't played like that. I know that as an Eagles fan because Howie Roseman's the type to, bring in all these names and stuff. And listen, I'd say half the time it doesn't work. But, listen, Steph Diggs, I think they got Daniel Hunter, Joe Mixon. Like, in theory, they should be a damn good team. I mean, they're going to be really hard to beat. Slowick is a great play caller.
Mm-hmm.
Stroud looks really good. He's going to be really comfortable in that system. I think D'Amico's really going to hold that defense down. They look good, man. I think Daniel Hunter still has it, man. I think he's going to be 15 sacks again. Stingley's really good. They got some dudes over there. I really like what they're doing. And, I think that second-year jump is really possible from C.J. Stroud, who was already, a potential all-pro level player last year. So
I'm really excited about them. I went back and forth on this for number 2. Ultimately, I went the Jags.
Okay.
I just think they have. I just saw a stat. So I was a big AR fan. I wanted Anthony Richardson to be really good. I said I would have took him number 1 in that draft. I would have been wrong. CJ Stroud was obviously way better, but I just saw a stat that apparently he's only played 17 games since like
That sounds right.
2020 or something. That's insane. Like I don't know, man. I have to short them. I think Steichen's going to end up winning them a lot of games. I think they're Anthony Richardson's legs, if he doesn't get hurt, is going to win them a lot of games. But I don't think I can put anything in. I had the Colts as a playoff team almost all summer, and they're just not now. I don't have them there anymore. So I
wasn't there with the Colts, but I thought they'd hover around 8-9 in the AFC.
Yeah. Me too.
And we are in agreement here. I have the Jags finishing second. I'm not ready to give up on the Jags. I wrote here in my blog, they won 16 of 22 games between week 9 of 2022 to week 12 of last year. And then Trevor Lawrence got hurt. And then collapsed. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence got hurt. I still think they're closer to that version than what we saw at the end of last year.
I totally agree. And I'm still not completely out on Trevor Lawrence. I still think he has the potential to be a very, very good quarterback, not just, a good quarterback. So I think they have the potential to actually have a pretty decent year. Potentially,
I had them winning 12 games last year. Like I was really high on them.
No, same. And a lot of people did. A lot of people did. But I wouldn't be surprised, if they won 9 or 10 games this year. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they won like 6. I really wouldn't. But I do have them at 2 right now. I'm definitely leaning more upside with them than downside.
So I have the Texans winning this division with 11 wins. I have the Jags in second as a playoff team with 10 wins. The Colts, like you, I need to see it. I don't love their roster as much as the Jags and Texans. I think that there's some serious holes in the Colts roster. But I really like Shane Steichen. I think he's a very competent head coach. I need to see it from Anthony Richardson. But I think they actually pulled back a little bit. They were 9-8 last year. I have them at 8-9 this year. So a little pullback, but they were also one of the, according to Action Network, who has this NFL luck rankings, how lucky were you in a given year? The Colts were one of the luckiest teams in the league last year. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said with the Browns, I'm not sure that's going to carry over again.
Sure.
And then we both have the Titans finishing last in this division. I could see them being a little bit better than we think. I have them winning 6 games. I think that's a little optimistic, though.
No, I think they do have the opportunity to be feisty. It's all going to be on Will Levis, though, who, let's be honest, can be a bum.
He had one really good game, and I think a lot of pundits, me included, are focusing on that one game he had where he threw 4 touchdowns, but he only threw like 4 the rest of the year. So he threw 8 touchdowns in 8 starts or whatever.
Everyone just, and myself, he does have a laser. Like he can spin the shit out of the ball, but
I worry about him behind that offensive line. I think that offensive line is going to be really bad.
They're just a very uninteresting team. It's not only just that, you could be bad and very interesting. They're both. They're not fun.
And they lost Derrick Henry. They lost Mike Vrabel. Those 2 guys were the engine of the Titans the last few years, and without them, I just don't know what to expect.
No.
So shifting over to the AFC West, I think this is a 2-team race. I'll be surprised if the Broncos or Raiders compete for this division.
I don't even think it's
you're right. I would say it's more a 1-team race.
Yeah, it really is. And the John Middlecoff is another dude who had me high on the Chargers all summer just because he loves John Harbaugh, so he's always talking about Jim Harbaugh rather. But listen, Chiefs are 1. We don't even really need to talk about it. They won the Super Bowl last year. I think that they got better. We can just leave that.
They're the only contender, I would say, in the AFC that definitively got better this year. I think the Ravens regressed. I think the Bills regressed. I think the Bengals regressed.
Yes, 100%. I think the gap widened there, so there's not even much to really talk about. We all love Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes. Yay.
Not much more needs to be said there.
Yeah, and so I mean, I do think the Chargers are too, pretty clearly. they have a terrible roster, man. I think even the players that they have that are good, like your Derwin Jameses, they're old and can't stay healthy anymore. Their defense has been very bad. They don't have any playmakers on offense.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert's already hurt. John Harbaugh's like doing a complete like culture change from Brandon Staley. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they came in third or even fourth, to be honest with you. But
I
I
don't
do
think
have
that's
them
ridiculous. Yeah.
I do have them. Yeah, I agree. I do have them second though, just because I do think Jim Harbaugh is, he's a fantastic coach. If Herbert's playing, he's going to sling the rock and they're going to win a lot of games. So I have them too. Do you have? I assume you have them too as well.
Yeah. So hang on. I want to bring up when he took over the Niners.
Two wins.
So the Niners, when he took over the Niners had won 6 games the previous year. He took them over in year 1 and they won 13. But so everyone's pointing to that as this is why this team is a playoff team. And I 100% agree. My counter to that, if I was countering my own view, is that his roster that he inherited consisted already of
Hall of Fame players
like Michael Crabtree, Vernon
Patrick
Davis,
Willis.
Justin Smith, Joe Staley. I'm just going through them here by position. Mike Upati, and then Navarro Bowman, Ahmad Brooks, Patrick Willis.
I mean, dude, those are all pro level players. Yeah, of course. Dude, you don't win 13 games without some dudes,
While I think this Chargers team is a playoff team, and I have them making the playoffs, this is more of a rebuild than that Niners job was, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
And they have Justin Herbert, who I think is probably going to be the difference in this team being a playoff team or not. I really like Justin Herbert, obviously. And I think Harbaugh is going to completely turn that ship around almost immediately. Whether or not they make the playoffs or not, we're going to be like, they're going to be just fine. It's not going to be a concern. I have them winning 10 games. That's a little optimistic. It could be 9 or 8, but this feels like a 10-win team. No more, probably more likely less than that, but I don't see them winning any more than 10 games.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think their ceiling is really low just because, they're going to lose some games on talent. Like, you know what I mean? They're just going to, not have as many dudes as the other team. Like, when
I
they play
think they're going to
Kansas
get
City,
probably
for example.
swept by the Chiefs.
Exactly my point. But yeah, I think they're right there. And the next two, I think you could go either way here. I actually think the Raiders have some dudes on their team, but just they have the worst quarterback
such
situation
a
in the
top-heavy
league.
roster.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna have the Broncos at 3. I actually put some shekels on Bo Nix to win Rookie of the Year. I think they have I actually just think he has a really good chance to. His ceiling's really low as a player, in my opinion, but as a rookie coming into a system where he fits really well and things like that, I think he'll have a decent year. I really do. So I have them third and the Raiders fourth, but you could flip them. And
so exact same for me. I actually don't be surprised if the Broncos are in the hunt to make the playoffs.
No, I totally agree.
Their win total, last I checked, was 5.5. That seems way too low for this team.
Yeah.
Sean Payton's never won fewer than 7 games as a head coach. Bo Nix looked good in the preseason. All the reasons you just said. I think this could be a better situation than Vegas thinks. And then, I have the Raiders in fourth. Like you said, they got some dudes. Christian Wilkins, Devontae Adams, Colton Miller. Who'd you say?
Max Crosby.
Oh, yeah, Max Crosby. They got some dudes, but name a player after those guys other than Gardner Minshew.
I totally agree. And, the quarterback situation is it's just gross. Devontae Adams just has to be kicking himself, man. He really does, and I'm sure you're loving it, but
no, I'm not. Like I would rather have Devontae Adams in Green Bay, but
no, I'd be loving it. That'd
choices have consequences, dude. I'm not going to feel sorry for you. Just as a non-Green Bay fan, I'm not going to feel sorry for you.
Well, what's your order for the AFC then? Let's hear it.
All right, so the 1 seed I gave to the Chiefs. I have the Chiefs at 12-5. 2 seed. So I have 2 teams going 11-6, the Ravens and the Texans. Tiebreakers, I'll give it to the Texans just because I think they are trending up and the Ravens are trending down this year. who knows with the tiebreakers? I didn't go that deep into the schedule, even though I did go through every single team. So Ravens in third, and I got the Bills in fourth. My wild cards were, let me see here. I think I gave the Bengals the 5 seed, the Jags the 6, and the Chargers the 7.
Okay. All right. I like that. I'm actually going to do the Texans at the 1 seed.
Okay.
They do have an easy, division, an easier division, just like the Chiefs do. But I just think, I think everybody knows at this
They
point.
also get the Chiefs at home.
Yeah, and I mean, the Chiefs are worried about the playoffs, and yes, they would love, home field throughout, but I don't think they're that fucking scared to go down or freaking scared to go down and play the Texans in the AFC Championship game. I think they like their chances there. So I do have the Chiefs at 2. I have the Bengals at 3, and then I have the Bills at 4. Unfortunately, my King Josh Allen, I think, is only going to win about 10 games this year.
It's going to be a transitional year for them.
100%. At the 5, I have the Ravens. At the 6, I have the Cleveland Browns, and at the 7, I have the Miami Dolphins.
Ravens, Browns, Dolphins. Interesting. Okay. So I one other thing I want to mention with the Chiefs is I have them getting the 1 seed because I don't know how this happened, but just the way the rotation worked out, they get the Ravens, the Bengals, and there's another team that I'm missing. They get the Ravens, Bengals, and Texans. I'm sorry, I had it wrong. Ravens, Bengals, and Texans all at home. And then they do have to go to the Bills. That was the road game I was thinking of. But so favorable schedule. All right, so let's go to your division, the NFC East. I think it's a 2-team race.
Of course.
With the potential for a third that I don't think is as unlikely as people think.
It totally is, dude. I'm telling you right now.
Right,
and it's really not anything. Again, I think it's a whole regime change, and we'll get to the Commanders and everything, but they're a year away. I think next year they have a chance to be a double-digit win team. It's not going to be this year. I think they're going to be potentially a top 5 pick. I do. Listen, this isn't bias. I do think, it's the Eagles' turn to win the division. I think they got some really good players. I do think they have some holes as well that could potentially be exposed. The Nick Sirianni, just whole, just the whole thing going on around him isn't great. But I just do. I think they have. I think as of right now, they have a slightly better team than the Dallas Cowboys, and I know getting 2 new coordinators can really, it can take a lot, but they're actually really experienced coordinators. I think that transition will be a little bit easier than, these guys that are coming up from, I was a quarterback coach, now I'm an OC, whatever. And I think, and maybe this is just the fan in me, but I do genuinely think about half the problems with the Eagles last year were play calling on both sides of the ball. I don't think it was a huge talent issue. Sure, there was a bunch of other reasons that went into that, but I mean, I think a lot of it was, especially when I just watched offense, man, there was just no flow all year. And I think a lot of that'll change this year. I think Jalen Hurts is going to bounce back. I think they have a lot of weapons on that side of the ball. So I do have them at 1. Wouldn't be surprised if Dallas won. I think a lot of people, including you, and I'd love to hear, kind of your thoughts here. Maybe you'll convince me a little bit more. I've kind of taken a bigger step back on them than I kind of would have thought.
We're going to get into it.
They still have good players. But at the end of the day, I don't think they got better from the team that they were last year. When
I don't think they got worse. I don't think they got better.
I do think that they got worse. They don't have a left tackle. I mean, they're starting a rookie at left tackle right now. From Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith can't stay healthy, but sure, when he's out there, I mean, he's a brick wall. You're not getting around him. So they don't have a running back when they already couldn't run the ball last year. So maybe I'm convincing myself here. But they're still so much better. Dak's a very good quarterback. They're just way better than the other 2 teams. So I have them 2. I do think Philly will win the division. The bar, depending on health, there's always, quarterbacks get hurt, whatever. But That's my 1-2 there, but I think you have the same one too, if I'm not mistaken. But I kind of want to hear your thoughts there.
I do. So, same 1-2. I got the Eagles winning the division. I got the Cowboys finishing second. On the Eagles, well, I'll say this first. I'm going with the Eagles because no team has won this division in back-to-back years since the Eagles did it in the early 2000s with the Donovan Mad
It's
teams.
been 20 years.
It is crazy.
It really is. That's insane. Because it's not like the division's been bad. I mean, they've had Super Bowl winning teams. They've had, well, no, the whole division's been bad, but I mean, like, it's not like they have like these 9-win division winners all the time. Like, the winner of that division usually wins 11, 12, 13 games, like every single year. It's just really weird that, the Eagles, for example, when they went to the Super Bowl in 22, it's like everybody
Holy
thinks
shit, you're right. Yeah, I was like, who's won the Super Bowl besides the Eagles? And I was like, oh shit, the Giants won it twice.
Won a couple, yeah. I mean, like they were bad teams. They won the Super Bowl, God bless them, but like they weren't a great team. But my point being, like, it hasn't been like the AFC South or something like that, where it's like even the best team is terrible. So I mean, I'm just saying that stat is even a little bit crazier than it sounds, in my opinion, honestly.
As for the Eagles, I want to start off with the negative. I have concerns about Nick Sirianni.
I do too.
And whether or not he knows what he's doing. However, the counter to that is when he had two good coordinators in Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, this team was a Super Bowl contender, should have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think he's got two very competent coordinators in Vic Fangio and I always want to say Case Keenum, not Case Keenum, Kellen Moore. Thank you. I think it's because they played at the same time.
Yeah.
He's got two good coordinators. So I think they'll be okay in that regard. I think they'll be fine. As for my other concern, I think the losses of Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox are going to be a bigger deal than people think. Not 100%. So much from a product standpoint. They have prepared for this. They drafted Cam Jurgens. They drafted Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to replace these guys. I am concerned from a leadership standpoint in the locker room. Who's going to step up and be the leader? I think Jalen Hurts is a leader. Who else on the roster? Someone's going to step up.
Saquon is. Yeah. So, I mean, I heard, Howie do a big, a lot of the reason they signed Saquon, they just think he's an exemplary leader in a lot of these things. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Some of the, Jordan Mailata just got voted a captain. Hopefully some of these guys that are still in their, late 20s, but veterans of the team can step up. But yeah, I mean, dude, you're not replacing Jason Kelce on the field or off the field. Fletcher Cox either. I mean, he had 6 sacks last year, I think. I mean, it wasn't like he was completely cooked and he left. So, yeah, I totally agree. I think Jalen Carter is going to take another step forward this year. I think he's a lock Pro Bowler, potential All-Pro player. Hopefully Jordan Davis is still good. The Bryce Huff pick or trade has to work out. We threw a lot at the secondary. I don't expect them to be good, but I don't expect them to be Swiss cheese. So we'll see. Yeah, I think a lot's going to depend on the lines, which do have question marks, but I think more optimistic about those than pessimistic. But yeah, I mean, of course, there's a lot that can go wrong. I don't think they're, like the Chiefs or the, the Niners as far as, a complete team at this point. But I do think they have a really, really high ceiling, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah. So those were my negatives. The positives were this team got immensely better in the offseason, adding Saquon Barkley, getting Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in the draft. Like,
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's back.
Yeah.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's back in the secondary too.
On paper, this team should be really good. There's just question marks around the coaching staff and leadership, but I'm going to bank on that talent. I think they're going to rebound. I don't think they're going to improve their win total. Last year, they won 11 games. A lot of things went their way, but with the improvements to their roster, I think that they'll stay the same in the win column and be like an 11-win team.
Yeah, I agree. That's about where I have them. By the way, you want an Eagles hot take? I think Kellen Moore, unfortunately, might be the next coach of the Eagles. I don't think they're going to let this Steichen thing happen again.
We rolling out Belichick?
Well, this is the thing. If they're bad, Nick's gone, obviously, because there was already.
I saw Belichick had another quote today about how much Philadelphia loves him. He's having a lot of Philadelphia.
Dude, he's just old, man. God damn, he's old as shit. But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong though. Like, I mean, the team would be buttoned up for sure. But let's hear the Cowboys. I'd love to hear, because I know you've been making me happy with your Cowboys text. I'll be honest with you.
So, I would say both of us have been a Cowboys defender the last couple of years. Like, this team's really good. They're talented.
Yeah, I
Do
hate
they
them, but they're
think
good.
they'd win the Super Bowl? No. But I feel like a lot of people have been trying to jump the gun saying this team's going to regress, or the Cowboys are going to regress this year. The Cowboys are going to regress this year for the last 2 to 3 years. And we've both kind of been saying, no, this team should still be really good. But I'll be honest, this year, I think I'm going to be one of those guys and say, I think the Cowboys are going to be worse this year.
A lot of drama going on over there.
There's a lot of drama, although still not the team with the most drama this offseason. My biggest concern, and honestly, Colin Cowherd brought this up, is the running back room. They have the worst running back room, I think, in the NFL. Mike McCarthy is already a head coach that doesn't run the ball that much, and 2, doesn't really have an effective run game, which means more passing attempts for Dak Prescott. And in the last 2 to 3 years, since 2021, every time Dak Prescott has thrown for 40 passing attempts in a game, the Cowboys have a record of 4-8.
Wow.
And now you're going to have that over the course of a 17-game season. Now, I don't think they're going to have that bad of a season, but that's just asking Dak to do a lot. And we both have the same opinion on Dak. I don't want the ball in his hands that much.
And listen, man, if CD high ankle sprain out 4 to 5 weeks, they're losing every game. Maybe they'll win one, but like I think
that's a losing season.
They don't have anything outside of CeeDee Lamb, who is, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you can make an argument he's the best receiver in the league. So like they're going to be good if he's on the field. But dude, it gets spooky if he's not on the field. I mean, they can't run, like you said. I mean, they just do not have the personnel right now to run the ball effectively on a game-to-game basis. They're going to throw it well when he's out there, but listen, man, quick tweak out a couple weeks.
I like Dak. I trust him to a point, but you give him the ball more and give him more passing attempts, he's going to give it to the other team.
I agree.
And that concerns me, and that's going to hurt them quite a bit. So I do have them pulling back. I'm not super confident in that, but it does concern me. I have them winning 9 games. I have them going.
Well, I don't have them winning 12 games. So if you consider that a step back, sure. But I just mean like as far as like I think some people, I've seen them in some power rankings. I think Florio just put out power rankings. What are they? 16th, 19th, even? Like
that's way too low. That's way too low.
No, I agree. I totally agree. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they completely suck.
I still had them in my top 10. Like on paper, this roster is good.
Yeah.
I think there are factors that people just aren't really paying attention to that I think are going to hurt them this year. So rounding out this division, I assume we're both going to have the Commanders in 3rd.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels has to stay healthy, man. Like that
concerns me.
He scares me with his running around. But like I said, with like the Chargers, it's not like they have the worst roster you've ever seen, though. It isn't good. It's not a good roster. But they're it's a full regime change this year. I don't think Dan Quinn's that good of a head coach, first of all. It's not going to help.
No, but I think he can steer the ship. That operation's been a mess.
100%. It's just a new owner. Like, I just think, like, they don't expect to be good this year. You know what I mean? Like, they on the inside, sure, like the coaches and the players and everything like that. But the front office is like, no, like, let's see what we have with Jaden this year. Like, let's get just a normal guy, like, a normal guy in here to coach this team. It kind of almost reminds me of when they hired Ron Rivera to kind of just like have an adult in the room to right the ship. Like that's almost kind of what like.
And that was a disaster.
Yeah, it was, but I don't think Dan Quinn's like a long-term hire either. Like I think he's, maybe a couple years and they're going to get him up out of there. I think they just needed somebody to. It wasn't an attractive job, first of all, so I don't think a lot of people wanted to go there. And frankly, I thought it was a bad.
I think they wanted Ben Johnson, and I think they were surprised that Ben Johnson went back to Detroit.
Yep. I love the way you say Detroit.
That's how you say it, Detroit.
You say it's Detroit. You say it like Detroit. You're from Alabama, and I love it.
Detroit. Detroit. Other things about the Commanders, O-line was really bad last year. They really didn't do anything to fix it. And then who's their pass rush coming from? Montez Sweat's
Nobody.
Not there anymore. Chase
Nobody.
Not there anymore.
It has to come from the inside. It's going to have to come from their D tackles, and that's just that's not a good recipe for getting to the quarterback. It helps but you need
an edge rusher.
Yeah.
So I think the Commanders will be okay, like not okay, but I have them at 7-10. That feels like a good spot for them.
I could see them losing, maybe a couple more games than that, but I won't argue with that. And the Giants, I don't even like talking about the Giants, man. They've just been so shitty for so long. I genuinely don't think they know what they're doing at all. And it's funny because, like,
did you watch the off-season Hard Knocks? I didn't watch it.
no, no, hell no, I don't give a shit about them. But
Hard Knocks sucks.
you want to think, like, on paper, like, yeah, Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are really good, but it's just like, are they? Like, are they that good? I do think their defense has a chance to be really good because, like, some teams are going to have a hard time blocking that line. Like,
they got a real defensive front. Like,
yeah,
Dexter Lawrence,
but
Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns. That's a
but they're
problem.
going to be terrible on offense, man. Like, the whole right side of their offensive line is a complete turnstile. Like, yeah, Andrew Thomas is great, but you got five other, or four other linemen you got to worry about. I think they have one other good one, if I'm not mistaken. Daniel Jones
Well, they got
sucks.
Runyon from the Packers. He's okay. He's not
Yeah.
a great starter, but he's
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, Jones sucks. Malik Neighbors sure should be good in theory, but he's a rookie. It's not like you're going to get some like 1,400-yard season out of him.
No.
Someone's
got to give him the ball.
They're just bad, man. And listen, if you told me that they actually won 7 games and the Commanders won 4 instead of like kind of maybe the other way, like I'm thinking it, I wouldn't be that surprised because of the defense. But I'm going to tell you right now, man, like the only way they're going to win a game is if it's like 17-14, 17-21. Like that's the only way they're winning games because they're not getting. I'd be surprised if they scored over 30 more than a couple times this entire year.
I agree. I actually have them winning 6 games. I think that's a little optimistic. I'm not ready to give them Brian Daboll. I'm not ready to do it.
I don't think he's bad. But my point is, like,
I'm not sure
that's my thing. In my head, Shane, he's good, but I'm just like, is he that good? Like, is he good?
Exactly how I feel.
So, and I feel the same way about Joe Shane. Like, I remember that, like, I kind of just like made up my mind that he was really good when they hired him because everybody talked so highly about it. But like, now I'm just like, has he added that much talent? I mean, like, yeah, you got Brian Burns, Malik Neighbors is probably a good pick, but like, you still have a terrible offensive line, and if you can't figure the O-line out, in my opinion, you're a bad GM. That's why I think Howie's good, Gutekunst is good. Like, dude, I don't need all this, sprinkles and icing. Like, I need an O-line to make everything work. So,
just historically, those two teams have just known offensive line.
Yes, and that's why they've been good. I mean, both of our teams have been to. How many have you been? The Eagles have been to 6 NFC championships since 2000, and I think the Packers have too. So that's half. We've been to half of the NFC championship games. Eagles are 2000, 01, 03, or no, 01, 02, 03, 04, 10, 17. No, the Eagles have been to 7. The Eagles have been to 7 NFC championship games.
Our two teams have been in the NFC championship 13 times.
Over half. So, like, there you go. Like, a team should go do what they're fucking doing. I mean, even though we haven't really won, we've both only won one goddamn Super Bowl out of all those. It's just kind of shitty, but still, I mean, but still, like, our teams are like models of success on how to just run a consistent good team. Like,
all right. Any other thoughts on the NFC East?
No, go Birds.
Go Birds. All right.
Big game Friday.
What's that? Oh yeah.
Big game Friday.
NFC
By the way, hold on. So we don't have to do all this. Like, maybe we can do another one tomorrow or later or something. But like, who do you got that game? Be honest.
I'm going Eagles.
Yeah, you are. Damn, dude.
I have a section here on my notepad for picks, so we don't have to go too in depth, but we can give some picks here.
I think I'm gonna go Packers.
Oh my God, you gotta be shitting me.
It's just a lot. I already told you earlier. I was like, I think the Eagles have a marginally better run. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, like they're way better, but you guys have the quarterback and coach probably on paper. Not definitely coach, but probably quarterback too. I just think that's going to be enough, with all the noise going on in Brazil and all that shit.
Let's save that. We can get into picks. I know we're running a little long, but NFC North, 2-team race in my opinion.
2.5.
I think it's the Lions division. I'm still going to go with the Lions. I said it at the end of last year. I think the Lions Super Bowl window is now, and for the next 2 to 3 years, maybe. The Packers, I think, have a brighter future in the next 3 to 5 years.
dude,
But they still feel like a year away from what the Lions are right now.
the Lions are stacked this year.
Yeah.
Like, if healthy, like they have dudes
Lions are
everywhere.
for real.
And
I
I
mean, we
just
knew that
saw,
already.
I just saw like 14 of their 17 games are in a dome. So it's like you're not going to get too many like, oh, it's 30 degrees. Jared Goff has to go outside games. Like that offense is going to hum all year.
And if they get
So
home
yeah,
field advantage, which I'll go ahead and say I have them getting home field advantage in the NFC. That's a dome game in the divisional round, a dome game in the NFC Championship game, and then guess what? Super Bowl indoors.
me too. Me too. I mean, I saw your Super Bowl pick, but like me too. The Lions are the number 1 seed. In the only reason that I think they might not be is that is a tougher division.
I agree.
I could see them splitting with the Packers and potentially the Bears, just because. I think the Packers are the best second place team in the league, but I do not think they're as good as the Lions right now.
No.
So I do have them at 2. Bears are obviously 3, just because I mean the Vikings just don't have a quarterback this year, and I think the Bears have a decent roster. I hate Eberflus as the coach still. Some people do like him, but listen, they got a little bit of a pass rush. They got a good corner. They definitely have offensive weapons. In theory, Caleb, I think he's going to throw a lot of picks, but he's also going to throw a pretty decent amount of touchdowns this year. He's going to sling it. I mean, I like them. I like them a lot, and I think next year they're going to be a serious, maybe not NFC contender to go to the Super Bowl, but a good team. I mean, I think they're pretty much a lock next year to go win 10 games, unless Caleb Williams is some huge bust that we're not seeing. And the Vikings even the Vikings remind me a lot this year of the Raiders. It's just like they got like a couple dudes, but they don't have a quarterback and they're very top heavy. So I don't like them this year. Kevin O'Connell's a good coach. I can see them squeezing out, maybe 7 wins, but yeah, I think they're pretty solidly 4th, and I think most people would agree there.
I mean, we agree across the board, 1 through 4. The Lions, they are like the Chiefs. They definitively got better. They added Carlton Davis to their secondary. They drafted Terrion Arnold. They drafted Ennis Rakestraw Jr. This secondary should be much better, and that was their biggest issue last year. O-line's great. They added DJ Reader to their defensive front, which is only going to help their secondary, in my opinion. Where was I going with that? My one concern is maybe they don't have enough pass catchers.
Yeah,
that's maybe my one concern. It depends on Jameson Williams. If he comes on, I think this offense is going to be really good.
I just think Laporta is. Yeah. I mean, he's wide receiver too, right? I mean, I think he's going to go over 1,000 yards this year probably.
I mean, those are. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs are both home run hitters, and Laporta is just a really good between. I would even say he's a good red zone target, but he'll get you between the 20s too.
Yep.
I think they're just fine. The Packers. I have my concerns. Was last year an aberration? I think that's a valid concern. But if those last 10 games last year, 12 if you include the playoffs, was an outlier, that's one hell of an outlier. Yeah. And I think that team is closer to that version than what we saw at the beginning of last year.
I agree.
I think Jordan Love's an MVP candidate. I think they struck gold again. I'm really optimistic about the Packers, but I just don't.
I will say, I like Jordan Love. I think he has it all. I do think that he is the second half version last year, not the first, but I can't say for a fact because I thought Jalen Hurts was like a solidified 5 to 7 guy.
That's in the back of my mind. That is in the back.
And he took just like a little step. Listen, it wasn't like Jalen was so bad last year that he's not a starting quarterback, but like, I bet Jordan Love has an up and down season. And when I say up and down, I mean high end up and down, not like fucking, mid-level up and down. But we'll see. Or maybe he just comes out and he's the MVP of the league. I could easily see that. Like you said, I mean, I think he's like 4th or 5th in odds. I mean, you guys have young receivers everywhere. You brought in Josh Jacobs.
A lot of young pass catchers. Josh Jacobs in the backfield. We always seem to have a good offensive line. At least good, not great. I worry about the defense. We'll see with Jeff.
Always.
I'm not there yet. A lot of people are excited about him. I'm not there yet. I need to see some results. But we've been competitive with bad defenses in the past. I see no reason to think it won't happen this year unless Jordan Love just takes a huge step back. But I'm really high on the Packers. And then as for the Bears, I think people are trying to push this team's a playoff team a little too early. I still think they're about a year away. Really
Nick
good
Wright has them in
situation
the
though.
NFC Championship, but I totally agree. I think that they're 1 year away. I mean, next year, depending on how this year goes. I mean, if they win 9 games this year, and you're like they were right in this game and this
That
game, they
feels
could have
about
won.
right. 9 feels. I don't want to say their ceiling, but that feels about right.
I agree. I think their ceiling is probably 10. They're probably like a 7-win team. Like let's be honest. Because like I said, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, I will put it down right now. Caleb Williams is going to lose 3-4 games this year because he throws a lot of picks. Just because, I mean, you see him. He's going to throw across the middle on the run, cross body, all that stuff, and he's going to make some crazy plays. But he's going to throw a lot of picks. It's going to happen.
It's
100%.
just rare to see a rookie quarterback take a team to to the playoffs with a defensive-minded head coach. It just doesn't happen very often.
I totally agree.
Andrew Luck is the only example I can think of in the last 15 years that's done.
But people would push back there and say this might be the best prospect since Luck. So I mean, do I think he's as good as Andrew Luck? Hell no. But maybe he is.
Another reason why I'm not as high on the Bears as everyone else is, everyone points to they got hot last year. They won 7 games. Look how much they improved. A lot of those wins last year were against the Falcons, the Panthers, the Cardinals, the Browns. Those were their wins, and they beat some bad teams. In that game against Green Bay, you look at the final score, you say, well, they kept it close in Lambeau. It really wasn't that close. Green Bay shot themselves in the foot a couple times. It left some points on the board. This is a situation, in my opinion, where the Bears probably improve on the field, not in the win column.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair. And I mean, what I would say there, I mean, they do have a new quarterback. They did bring in a veteran wide receiver. Montez Sweat is, going to be there all season this year. Jalen Johnson.
But name another difference maker on that defensive front.
Yeah. I mean, their front isn't great.
Him.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think they're there yet, but I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. I mean, they're not. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't have them in the playoffs.
Yeah. Vikings, maybe the best 4th place team in the league. Just they have some talent. They have a handful of players. Their offensive line's better than what it's been in recent years. Just Sam Darnold's a bridge quarterback. J.J. McCarthy's out for the year, so they're going to be stuck with Darnold all year.
McCarthy sucks anyway.
I think that it's going to be a trying year for Minnesota. They might beat someone they shouldn't. They'll probably lose to a couple teams they shouldn't.
Yep.
NFC South, the division that is a mess. Who you got? I assume we're going to have the same team here.
I mean, you got to go Falcons, dude, but this is just such an uninteresting division. I don't give a shit. I hate
this division so much.
It just because the Falcons on paper, I think they do have, the best team. They got a lot of playmakers. I don't know what to expect out of Kirk. Listen, maybe I'm wrong. It seems like a great guy, but Raheem Morris wouldn't be on my list of 32 coaches that I would want as my head coach. The whole Penix thing with those two has a chance to get weird if they lose a couple games that they shouldn't. I don't think Drake London's that great. Kyle Pitts, I don't think is that great. I think they're just kind of like names that people say.
They love naming offensive weapons, and I think that they're a little.
Bijan's very good. Bijan is very good. And listen, I do. I mean, I think their defense is going to be greatly improved, which is what's going to put them over the top. I think. I mean, I do think they win this division.
The addition of Matthew Judon, I think, was a very underrated move.
Yeah, I mean, they have 2 great safeties. I mean, sure, they're not the spring chickens or anything, but they're still really good players. And it's not like you need to be 25 to play safety. It's much more of a cerebral position and sure tackling. So, yeah, I mean, I think that they're going to be decent. But again, I hate this freaking division. I think. The Saints are actually probably going to be 2 just because I think their defense is actually going to be really good. And I think they do have a couple of offensive playmakers. Bucks 3. I think them and the Saints are interchangeable. They kind of got the same thing going on. They got a couple playmakers. They got a so-so quarterback. They're like the same team to me, really. I mean, I think it's like, they have a quarterback that's like probably 15 to 20. Couple guys around them, definitely some holes, definitely some coaches that I probably wouldn't want as my coach. So there, and then the Panthers are going to suck again. I mean, it is what it is. Bryce Young is bad. Looking back, that's just, I don't know why I was taking victory laps during that, because I was just like, why would you ever draft this guy? I don't care if he looked like Superman in college. Look at him, and just obviously played out that way. They're going to suck. I wouldn't be surprised if they're number one pick again.
So I think we agree 1 through 4. I got Falcons, Saints, Bucks, Panthers, 1 through 4. I don't love the Falcons. I don't love anyone in this division. But the Falcons, on paper, the addition of Kirk Cousins should catapult this team to the playoffs and to win this division. I have concerns. He, like Aaron Rodgers, he's coming off an Achilles injury. I don't think their defensive personnel is great, although I do think the addition of Matthew Judon will help a lot. I think their offensive weapons are a little overrated, except for Bijan.
I agree. I totally agree. Not that they're bad. They're just like I said, people just kind of name them off because they're names, but it's just like, I mean, I don't think Drake,
high. Let's call it what it is. They were drafted high. That's why they're naming them.
I don't think Drake London's scaring anybody that much, and I know Kyle Pitts isn't. I mean, it's just like, I get it. He's fast and he's big, but he has done nothing in the NFL up to this point. I mean, he's been defended successfully. So, yeah, I mean, I totally agree, but it's just like, there's not that many other people elsewhere. I mean, Olave's a good skill player. Kamara's old. Mike Evans is good, but he's old. Chris Godwin's is good, but he gets hurt. Who the fuck do the Panthers even have? I mean,
Xavier. So I have the Falcons at 9-8. If they win over 10 games, I'll be shocked.
I think they will win 10 games, but I mean, if you told me they won 7 again, I swear to God, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I wouldn't even in the
slightest. 12 or 11 or 12, I'd be like, no fucking way.
Yeah. I see people have them at like 12-5 though. Like I've seen that multiple times.
I don't see that happening.
I don't either.
For whatever reason, people are high on the Falcons. I don't know why. The same thing happened last year. People thought they would win 9 or 10 games.
Well,
I didn't see it. I was right.
It's so funny because they just like kind of thought they were a quarterback away, which there's 2 points to that. One, no, the fuck you weren't. You weren't just a quarterback away. But 2, it's like, dude, Kirk Cousins isn't that missing puzzle piece. Like he's
not a Tom Brady situation.
Yeah, like he's gonna win you games, no doubt. But it's not like, dude, you're not gonna even win a playoff game if you get to the playoffs. I don't care if it's at home or not. Like you're not winning that game. You're gonna lose. They're probably gonna be the 4 seed and get the shit kicked out of them by either the Packers or the Cowboys or Eagles. Yeah.
The Saints, I just can't trust Dennis Allen. I almost wanted to pick them to win this division. I've been burned too many times by Dennis Allen. They have an aging roster, a front office that really doesn't know what they're doing. They just keep kicking the can down the road.
They're terrible, dude.
They keep bringing everyone back, even though this team should strip it all down.
Can I just ask a question real quick?
Sorry to interrupt. Kubiak as offensive coordinator could help them a lot, but
yes,
I just don't think that Allen and Carr work as a head coach quarterback combination. Hey, go ahead with what you were saying.
There's like 2 off the top of my head are the Saints and the Giants that they're somehow always in cap hell, but they have no good players. Like I'm like, what are you doing with this money? Who are the Saints paying? Why are you guys in cap hell?
I don't know.
Like
Alvin Kamara.
Dude, literally every time like you see one of those like sports track like over the cap fucking lists, they're at the bottom every time, and I'm like, you got like I got it back in those like late Drew Brees teams where you guys had that Super Bowl window. Like, sure, you had a lot, but it's like, dude, it's 2024. You guys have been mediocre at best for the last 5 years. Like, who are you paying? Like, sorry, and the Giants are the same way. Like, oh, we can't get this guy because we can't pay him, and we had to let go of Xavier McKinney and Saquon because we didn't want to get. It's just like, dude, who are you guys paying? Like, you're not going to pay the 2 good players on your team. It just, I don't know. So, but
it's poorly run.
Yes, they just are. Yes.
I don't like picking against the Bucks because between the Falcons and the Saints, I do think they're well run. I like their GM. I don't think Todd Bowles is an idiot. I don't think he's a great head coach though. I need to see it from Baker in back-to-back years. We've never really seen it. I think they have an aging roster.
Yes.
They were also very fortunate last year that list of luck rankings from Action Network, the Bucks were near the top. That's not going to carry over again. So I think they pull back a little bit. And then as for the Panthers, I think they'll be better. There's really only one direction to go, and it's up.
Yeah. I don't.
I like some of their additions. I still think they have a long way to go. And Bryce Young, I'm sorry to say, isn't going to be much better than he is right now. There's not going to be some.
No.
I'm trying to think of Trevor Lawrence, where he goes from dog shit to pretty good in a year.
Dude, I totally agree. It's just like he is a talented like human being. So he he'll have a couple games where like he slings it and makes a couple plays, but like in the aggregate over.
It's over.
Yes.
You killed his development.
Yes, in the aggregate over 17 games, like he is so fucking cooked. Like I don't like, who's calling plays for you? You know what I mean? Who are you getting the ball to? Who's blocking for you? Can you fucking see over them? Are you going to be able to stay healthy when you get blindsided by Myles Garrett? It's just like, I just don't see it, man. And yeah, I mean, they're just going to be cooked. Like you said, only way to go is up. Like maybe they win 4 games. You know what I mean?
That's
But
what
they're going to be terrible.
Win total.
Yeah, they're going to be terrible.
So let's get to the NFC West. This is a very interesting division, in my opinion. I honestly could see this being a 4-team race.
I don't think it's that interesting. I think I get how you can kind of talk yourself into all 4 teams being good in a way, but I do think the 1 through 4 is pretty set in stone. You don't think so? I mean, it's going to be Niners, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals. But I totally agree. I think the Cardinals are one of the better, 4th place teams in the league. Like I said, I'm really excited to see Kyler, come out and be healthy this year. I think their defense will be, better. I think they're going to be like a team that people just don't want to play because, Kyler's going to have a lot to prove. I don't think they have playoff aspirations, but they're going to play spoiler for a lot of teams.
I agree. So I'll start with my 1 through 4. I got the Niners still winning this division. But I do have them taking a pretty big step back from 12 wins to 10 wins.
Same.
I could go on and on about why I'm lower on the Niners this year than I have been in previous years. The main thing is there have been too many distractions with this team all offseason. You had the Brandon Ayuk saga. You have Trent Williams holding out. You have Christian McCaffrey's injury. Now Ricky Pearsall getting shot. Like, there's just way too much going on for this team. Not that getting shot is a distraction necessarily. But as with
I mean, it's
just another thing that's happened this offseason for them.
He ain't playing.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they kept Ayuk, but I mean, yeah, ideally you don't want your 1st round pick getting, shot in the rib cage. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think dude, the Niners just have too many dudes they are a super, super high floor team, but I think their ceiling is not low. It's definitely not low, but like it's not even close to as high as it's been in past years. I just think everyone's a year older and there's been a lot of distractions and they're coming off of a Super Bowl, which it's just attrition, man. That's a lot of games. It's just a lot of games.
Do you remember what I sent you about Super Bowl, the team that loses the Super Bowl, what they do the next year?
Yes.
Let me find that real
egregious. Quick. And I know from, my team went to the Super Bowl a couple times in the last few years, and like the next year they sucked both times. Last year, the Eagles ended up sucking by the end of the year, like terribly. They were one of the worst teams in the league by week 18. And then the 2018 season, the Eagles ended up being really bad. It's just, it just makes what the Patriots and the Chiefs are doing that much more impressive because it's just like, dude, I know you guys are tired as hell. Like you played 3 more football games last year than this team.
I'm trying to find those numbers that I sent. Okay, so this is in the history of the Super Bowl. So 57 times, because we don't know what the Niners are going to do this year. So 57 instances, the team that lost the Super Bowl. The year after, 40 of them made the playoffs. So pretty good chances that the Niners make the playoffs, which we agree. 10 teams improved their win total the next year. So that means that, 47 teams that lost the Super Bowl regressed the next year. And by an average of nearly 3 wins. So going by the Niners, they could regress from 12 wins to 9 wins and be within that margin of error or whatever you want to call it, aggregate. 15 teams that won the Super Bowl have made it back to the Super Bowl the next year. I'm sorry, that won. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. God damn it. That's won the Super Bowl. I'm looking for lost the Super Bowl. Lost the Super Bowl. Okay.
It's even worse, though.
So it's the same number. 40 teams that lost the Super Bowl made the playoffs the next year. 10 teams that lost the Super Bowl improved their win total. So it's the exact same so far. But 8 teams that lost the Super Bowl made it back to the Super Bowl the next year. And 3 of those instances were the Bills in the 90s. So that number goes down from 40 to 8 real quick in terms of getting back to the Super Bowl. Of those 8, only 3 teams won the Super Bowl the next year. So after losing, and those 3 instances were the Dolphins and Cowboys in the 70s and the Belichick Brady Patriots in 2017 to 2018.
So
3
it's just
instances,
complete outliers.
one time in 40 or 50 years. And then 2 teams, only twice has a team lost the Super Bowl, and then both improved their win total the next year and won the Super Bowl. And now those 2 instances were in the 70s with the Dolphins and Cowboys. It's never happened since then. Everything is going against the Niners so far. I don't see this team being as good as they were last year.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't see him as the 1 seed this year. And listen, I mean, if you tell me that Matt Stafford stays healthy all year and Puka is still as good as he was last year, and Cooper Kupp is healthy and he's back to his own ways, and you told me the Rams won this division, I would not be surprised at all. But as of right now, they just have better players, and I think a very equal coach. So I will do that. But
the Rams are going to be good, man. The Rams are going to be very good.
So the Rams are the one team that I'm picking to make the playoffs that I don't love. Like, there are 2 teams here that I'm kind of taking a chance on, or 3 teams. I'm taking a chance on the Jags. I'm kind of taking a chance on the Chargers, and I'm taking a chance, spoiler alert, on the Seahawks to make the playoffs. The Rams are the one team I'm picking to make the playoffs I'm not that confident in. Because has there ever been a offseason move that has been overlooked, shrugged off, whatever you want to call it, more than Aaron Donald retiring?
Yeah,
and no one seems to be bringing that up, James.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're definitely not wrong. I think the idea is, though, that they got a lot of young guys to kind of replace that. I mean, listen, I think the Rams are a very volatile team, because of Stafford and they have a lot of their good players.
Real quick for him.
Not 100%, but I mean, I just think it's always hard to look at division winners like that. Well, I expect this guy to get hurt. You kind of just have to call it as it is, as it is now, and so I have to put them at 2. But they are a very volatile team in the sense that I think that they could win 12 games very easily, and they could win 8 games very easily. So we'll see, but I think there's a pretty high variance on that team, and what they
agree.
can be. I lean towards they'll be good.
Yeah. So anyway, I bring all that up. It does feel like everyone's just like, well, they lost Aaron Donald. They'll still be okay. Guys, that's like a Mount Rushmore defensive player. Put him up there with Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor. He was that good. Yeah. And I think that's going to be an issue. And they keep saying, well, they addressed it in the draft. You're asking for rookies to replace him in a defensive draft that wasn't that good to begin with.
And like you said, I mean, it's not just on the field. I mean, listen, on the field, I mean, like you said, he's a Mount Rushmore player. He probably would have been the best ever if he played, into his 30s. But that's leadership loss too. I mean, that's probably the greatest, or if not one of the greatest players in your franchise's history. That's just a big loss across the board. But I still think they're going to be good. I mean, Sean McVay.
So anyway, I say all that to say the reason why I'm picking them to make the playoffs is what I said earlier with the Bills. This game is driven by great head coaches and great quarterbacks, specifically great offensive-minded head coaches. And the Rams are set in both of those categories with Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. They have good pass catchers. O-line concerns me. The rest of their personnel concerns me besides their run game, quarterback, and pass catchers. Everything else concerns me. I don't love their roster at all. But with McVay and Stafford, I think they can get to 10 wins. I have the Seahawks in third. Now, I think we differ on the Seahawks. This is a team I've talked myself into the last couple of weeks.
I really teetered with this, and you might convince me here to throw them in the 7th seed because, the 7th seed was hard to fill in the NFC, if we're being completely honest. I think the 5 and the 6 are gimmies. It's going to be the North and the East. It's who's that other team. No, I actually don't think that. So no, actually I didn't. I know who my teams are going to be there, but Gino just, I think he kind of hit his peak, man. I think he's really on a downslope here. They do have some weapons, JSN and Decaf and Kenneth Walker. Their defense should be much better because I do think they have players on that side of the ball that just weren't being,
Yep.
Utilized in a unit as well as they could have been, because it was just like everybody was like, they have Pete Carroll and they have all these, players that are pretty good on paper. Why do they suck? I think Mike McDonald really helps that. So, I mean, I don't disagree. I think that they could be a step, maybe a win better than they were last year, and that might put them in that spot. But Gino just.
I don't see them really improving their win total. I still have them at 9-8. I kind of think that's where they are. But they missed the playoffs last year. It was supposedly a down year, or that was the narrative, and they were still 9-8. So there's talent on this team. I'm not confident in this. Like I said, I'm going out on a limb here.
But it's tough. Like that last spot's tough.
It is. But like you said with Mike McDonald, I think he's going to get a lot out of that defense. And I think they have good personnel on that side of the ball. They added Byron Murphy. They already had a decent secondary. Offensively, they have pieces. Geno Smith's back-to-back Pro Bowler. They have offensive weapons. O-line concerns me. They also have a play caller who's never been in the NFL. So this could go south. Again, another team that could go south real quick. But being a little bold,
I like it.
Seahawks.
And the Cardinals. I mean, I think Cardinals are an intriguing team. There's not much to talk about. I think Gannon.
I wouldn't be shocked, and I kind of have this if they double their win total. If they go from 4 wins to 8 wins.
I actually kind of see that happening.
I have them at 7, so I'm basically right there.
Yeah, I mean, they have a couple of playmakers on offense, couple of playmakers on defense. I think that they're. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're a bottom 5 team. Yeah, I don't think that they're a bottom 5 team or anything like that. So, yeah, we'll definitely see, but I do think they're kind of squarely 4th place as of now.
All right, so wild cards.
All right. Yes. Yeah. So I have the Lions as the 1 seed.
Okay.
I have the Niners as the 2 seed.
Okay.
The Eagles as the 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Falcons as the 4.
Mm-hmm.
Packers 5. Cowboys 6. Rams 7.
All right.
And I feel I don't know about the order, but I feel pretty confident those are going to be the 7 teams. I mean, obviously, quarterback gets injured, something like that, but like I feel pretty good about that. I think that those are pretty squarely like the 7 best teams in the NFC.
There's probably going to be a surprise or 2 in the NFC.
100%. I mean, I'm not going to be right across the board there, but I'm very confident about those as of right now. I mean, like you said, you could talk yourself maybe into the Bears. You could talk yourself into the Seahawks. I've even seen some people talking themselves into like the Cardinals and stuff like that. But
I'll be honest, dude. I came this close to putting another NFC South team in my playoffs. I hated it with the passion of 1,000 suns. So we agree for the most part. I have the Lions as the 1. I have the Niners and Eagles flipped. Eagles as the 2, Niners as the 3 seed. Falcons as the 4, and then I do have the Packers as the 5 seed. I have the Rams as the 6, and then my 7 seed is the Seahawks. Cowboys are out.
Oh, so you did have the Rams? Because I was wondering. I was like, oh, so like.
No, I have the Rams. I have them winning 10 games.
No, but I was saying like I had Rams Cowboys. I thought you would definitely have Cowboys in, so I was just like sitting here like, what? Damn. So like, where's he fitting in?
I don't love it.
No, but I like it. It's
talented.
Shane, something like that is going to happen. Like, believe me, it's never chalk where it's just like, oh yeah, like this is how it's exactly going to go down. Like that's not what's going to happen. So,
all right. Do you want to do Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go through the entire bracket?
See, I don't know the bracket right now. I'd really have to kind of like sit down on that, but I can tell you my Super Bowl
Let's just
matchup. It's pretty boring, but I do have Chiefs Lions.
Oh, you fucker.
I mean, it's just I really do think that they're the 2 best teams in the NFL right now. I really do, just like roster wise and just everything they have going on. Kind of a boring pick. I honestly wanted to do something a little bit cooler than that, but I'll go that. And I do have the Chiefs winning. I don't have the Lions.
See, I felt like I was ahead of the curve, man. And you picked the Lions. Everyone else is picking the Lions.
No, I had them as the 1 seed.
Curious about that.
Dude, they're stacked. Like
I know. So I have the exact same matchup. I have Chiefs Lions. I don't love the Chiefs. I honestly thought you'd go Texans, and I would be all for it.
Yeah, and honestly, like I could see like Texans Bengals or something very very easily, but
Well, that would be the AFC Championship.
or my bad, I'm tripping. Niners
Yeah.
Texans, but no, that's you kind of just like I said, you have to take it as it is right now, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, if you put that in a a CPU simulator, that's probably the Super Bowl you're getting. So,
My bold pick. So this isn't an I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was asking me my expectations for Green Bay this year over the weekend, and I said, well, my expectations are about 10 or 11 wins, making the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game, or no, I do expect to win a playoff game. And I said my bold prediction, and this isn't an expectation, just a bold prediction, is that the NFC goes to the NFC North, and it's Lions, Packers. Those are the best two teams in the NFC. Not
I mean,
Super Bowl, but that's kind of my bold.
no, I mean, I don't think I think you could very easily make that argument. I don't think a lot of people would argue. I might even agree with that, to be honest with you. But yeah, I see that, and I already told you that's your hot take for your team. My hot take for my team is Kellen Moore is going to be the Eagles head coach.
I like that. So who's your champ? I assume the Lions.
Yeah, no, I said Chiefs.
Oh, did you say Chiefs? I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think you'd go 3-peat.
No, and listen, everything in me is like they're not going to 3-peat. Like they're not, but it's just like, dude, they are the best team in the league right now. Like they just are. Like last year was the year to beat them, and they didn't. So it's just like they got better.
Really, it's been the last 2 years.
Yeah, like I have to pick them. Like they're finally like a really good team again with very little holes, and they have the best player in the world in his prime, and one of the best coaches ever, not in his prime, but you know what I'm saying. So
yeah,
I just can't pick against them. It's really boring and lame. We could do like a dark horse or something, but I'm gonna pick the Chiefs.
So I'm gonna disagree here. I have the Lions, and I can't believe I'm saying those words. Honestly, I have scoffed at the idea for the last 15 years of an NFC North team winning the Super Bowl, not named Green Bay.
Yeah,
I can't do it this year.
And it's just like I know, like they have to be like to the Commanders to me, where it's just like you don't even care. It's like, dude, it's Detroit. Like I don't even care that they're good because they've been.
The one thing I'm figuring out with predictions, who gives a shit? Just have fun with it.
No, well,
I take it somewhat seriously, but I will be a little bold. I'll say I want this team, in this playoffs.
No, I meant as a Green Bay fan. Like they're in your division, but it's just like, dude, who even fucking cares? Like, dude, it's the Lions. They're probably never still gonna win a Super Bowl because it's the fucking Lions. And it's just like, dude, they've been bad my entire life. Like literally since the day I was born, they've been absolutely terrible. It's like, who cares that they're good for a couple years?
I can't get there yet with the Lions because I thought I would until they beat the Bucks and they were, last year in the playoffs and they were in the NFC Championship. Green Bay got bounced, and I said, nope. If Green Bay can't win the Super Bowl, no team in the NFC North can win the Super Bowl.
No, that's fair. If the Commanders got to like Super Bowl level, I'd probably hate them too. So that's fair.
You want to do picks tomorrow?
Yeah, that works.
Let's do that. How about this though? Let's do, in order to beat it, let's do the Thursday night pick.
Okay. I have Chiefs, and I'm taking them with the points. Just because it's at home, I would have picked the home team here. That's just, I think it's a pick 'em. I'm going to give it to the home team. So yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs. Let's say Chiefs 23-24.
Okay. It's Chiefs -3. I'm also going with the Chiefs. Going to be boring here, but Baltimore breaking in new starters on their offensive line. Lost some guys defensively, including Mike McDonald. Gonna be a transition. They're just gonna be new. A lot of new things. The Chiefs though, consistent. They have Andy Reid. They have Mahomes. They have who's the defensive coordinator? Spagnuolo. Brought really every single major contributor. Who's the dude that they Marquez Valdes-Scantling? That's kind of the biggest name that they lost.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They like you said, they added things and a lot of their really good play. I mean, listen, like obviously Christian
Sneed, that's the name I was thinking of. L'Jarius Sneed.
Yes, that's true. That's actually a pretty big.
Honestly, though, I've always said they need to do this at the cornerback position. They need to draft a corner in the first round or something.
Yeah.
And they did it with McDuffie, but it's been years where they didn't do that. I'm like, this is going to bite them in the ass. And they always seem to be okay at the corner position.
Yeah.
They always seem to know what they're doing there. So
no, and I mean McDuffie's an all-pro level player, so I expect him to be, just as good. What is he, 24 years old? So, yeah, I mean I like the Chiefs this year. Hope they don't do well, but I don't foresee it. All
right, so those are our NFL picks. Man, it feels good to have football back. Feels good to be podcasting again. I always am like, I don't want to podcast, and then I do it. I'm like, gosh, that was a lot of fun.
You got to get the ball out. You just got to talk some ball, All right, buddy.
All right.
Good to talk to you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do picks tomorrow.
Hell yeah. Later.
Later.